Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today we have Brandon back for another deck profile on Goat Control. He runs this deck a little bit different than most people, so I think it's going to be fun to see it from his perspective. I'll let him take it from here.
Alrighty. So for my version, we don't really run that many flip cards. We only have a few in the deck, because for most of my plays, I noticed a lot of people will hit you with the flip card. No mana cross out. So we run one copy of Blackluster Soldier and Void at the beginning. You can only run one, but I really like him in the deck. He's a very useful card. You can't run him if you don't run Chaos Control. So basic one, attacks, destroys opponent's monster by battle, you get to attack again, or you can just banish one of their monsters, but you don't get his attack. My other two cards that we run for banishing is two copies of Chaos Sorcerer. Chaos Sorcerer is a really good beater with 2300 attack. We usually mainly use them for the banish effects and also to just banish one of my opponent's monsters. So we run him at 2. You can run him at 3 if you want. I personally choose 2 because it's the best ratio. The next monsters we go with is the main man, Jinzo. So basically, with Chaos Control, you do want to lock out traps because there are a lot of them that can hurt you in the game. So just him on the field really locks out the opponent and can be a clutch card for game. So we run him at 1. Then for the 3 ofs, we run 3 copies of Thunder Dragon. So he's the main card to discard and add 2 copies of. You mainly run him just for the banish effects, so you can get out your Blackluster and Chaos Sorcerer. You can also use them in a really good combo with Graceful Charity. So that's the best one. A lot of people run Shining Angel. I prefer Thunder Dragon at best, because he's the best one to see. And for the next card, we run 1 Air Knight. Air Knight is one of your good beaters for draw power, so whenever he attacks battle card, destroys it. If he's inflict damage to your opponent, you get to draw 1 card. So we run him at 1. Next one, we run 2 copies of Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi, he's the one that'll help you with most of your flip effect monsters, as long as they're still on the field. And he also helps with the Thousand Eyes Restrict lock. So once you summon him, you get to target one of your cards on the field, flip it down, and then you may flip it back up. So for the next one, we run 1 copy of Breaker, the Magical Sword Warrior. We basically use him because he's a built-in MST, gain 1 counter, and you can get rid of most of the dangerous back row cards. For the next card, we run 1 copy of Tribe Infecting Virus. He's one of the best cards, the most generic in the GOAT format. So his effect is you just discard 1, call a type, and you blow up the board of that type. So we only run 1. Next card we run is 1 Exterion Universe. We only run him just in case other people are running flip effect monsters. You get to attack it face down, and he can lose attack to increase his own. So the next one is Dekoichi. He is one of our only of flip cards for a few, and his effect is when he flips up, you get to draw 1. We basically use him for standard draw or for a Metamorphosis target. The next card we run is 1 copy of Night Assailant. He is a really good one to run just in case your opponent has a really big card on field and you need to blow up one of their cards. So he just flips up, target one opponent's monster, and destroy it. We also use them just in case for a Metamorphosis target. And then for the one of is Sengen, which he is the most great generic card, especially if you use him for another Metamorphosis target. So if you send him off, you just get to add one of your other monsters. So he's a good searcher. The next one is Morphing Jar. He is one of my favorite cards. Just flip up, both players discard all their cards from their hand and then draw up to 5. So he's great just in case you open with a dead hand. The next are 2 copies of Magician of Faith. So basically we use Magician of Faith just to get back all our spell resources, so like Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, and also Metamorphosis. So those ones we run at 2. The next copy of the flip cards that we run is 1 copy of Magical Merchant. You don't really need that many. If you think that you need more, you can most definitely put more in. But Magical Merchant I see at 1 usually is the best. Flips up, looks for all your spell cards, and you can add it to your hand. The rest go to the grave. So he's really good to help out the Blackluster combos. And the next, which is the last of our monsters, is Sinister Serpent. He is one of the good ones to run, because even if he's sent to the grave, during the next standby, he returns to your hand. So he's really good for the Graceful Charity dump for it. Now onto our spells. The Trinity package, so Graceful Charity, Delinquent Duo, and Pot of Greed. Most basic cards to run in the Choas Control deck. I personally like it. And for our next spells, we run 2 copies of Scapegoat. I used to run 3. I didn't really like seeing too many of it, so 2 is the most decent combo one to run. Just send them off, activate it on your opponent's turn if they were to attack you, and then you get to send it off for Metamorphosis to get out to your Thousand Eyes. Next is 2 copies of Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis, you just send off any monster of the same level, and you get a special one from your extra deck of a fusion of that level. For the next spell, we run 1 Premature Burial and 1 Snatch Steal. Snatch Steal is just to take over your opponent's monster and tribute it off, and for Premature Burial, just to bring back in case you lose one of your big monsters. Next for the spells is 2 copies of Book of Moon. Book of Moon is one of the good ones. You can run it at 3. I personally choose 2. Flip the monster down, flip it back up. It's easy for the Thousand Eyes control. And for the one-ofs, we run 1 Lightning Vortex, 1 Heavy Storm, and 1 MST. So basically field removal and back row removal. So those are the best ones to run. And then for the traps, we run 1 Call of the Haunted, 1 Torrential Tribute, and 1 Mirror Force. And then we also run 2 copies of Trap Dust Shoot. Trap Dust Shoot, it's a really fun card to play. Your opponent never really expects it. You flip it up, reveal one of their opponent's monsters, shuffle it back in the deck, and then they get to draw one. So it's really a key card to get rid of most of their resources. And then the back one, Call the Haunted, just to bring back your big monsters, and 2 of the board removals. Then onto the extra deck, we run 3 copies of Thousand Eyes Restrict. I personally love 3 copies, because most definitely Metamorphosis will get you into it by using Scapegoat or using a Sinister Serpent or any of your level 1 flip effect cards. For the next ones, we run 1 copy of Darkblade, the Dragon Knight. We only run them just in case our opponent has a lot of graveyard effects, so once you deal damage to them, they have to banish. You choose to banish 3 cards from their grave. So he's the really good basic beater. And then we run 2 copies of Ryu Senshi. Ryu Senshi we run just in case we lose Jinzo, so he's the basic one that locks out traps. Pay 1,000, negate the activation of a trap card. And he is immune himself to traps. Then we run 2 copies of Dark Baltar. Dark Baltar, he's the one that locks out the opponent's spells by paying 1,000, and he is also himself immune by spell effects. We run 1 Reaper on the Nightmare. You will rarely go into him most of the time, but you only use it if your opponent has like a really bad hand you want to start pitching their cards. So he's a really good one. 2 copies of Fiend Skull Dragon. This card is in case your opponent also has a lot of flip effect cards, so once it attacks, it negates all flip effects, and he's just really good just for negating that. He's also a really good card for attack. 1 copy of Ojama Knight. Ojama Knight, I just run him just in case I want to lock out my opponent's zones. It's a really funny gimmick to do for the Choas Control lock. And lastly, Dark Flare Dragon for the level 4s for Dekoichi to send off. And then 2 copies of Dragoness the Wicked Knight to send off with Sengen and the other level 3 flip effect monsters. Onto the sideboard, we run 1 copy of Darkblade Knight, mostly just to make sure you have a really good card for 1 cards in hand. He becomes a 2,000 attacker. 1 Spirit of the Reaper. He's a really good card just in case your opponent has really big effects. He can't be destroyed by battle, so it helps you with your resources. 1 copy of Green Kappa. Green Kappa is also a built-in MST, so he only destroys face-down ones, though. So he's really good for destruction on the back row. 1 copy of Electric Snake. This is in case you get Delinquent Duo'd. So on your next turn, you can sideboard it in. If he gets discarded, you get to draw 2. 1 copy of Ashura Priest, just so you're able to attack all your opponent's monsters. He's a really good card, just in case they run Scapegoat 2. For the spell, Noblemen of Crossout, we only run 1, just in case. And 2 copies of Brain Control, to take control of opponent's monsters and tribute off for Jinzo and Thunder Dragon. 1 Warrior Elimination, just in case we're going against Warrior Toolbox. It's a really funny gimmick card to play, to destroy all warriors. 1 copy of Monster Reincarnation, just in case you need to get back Blackluster Soldier in case he's destroyed. In case you're going against Tribute Effect monsters, 2 copies of Mask Restrict to lock out your opponent from tributes like the Monarchs. And then we run 1 Ring of Destruction, 1 Spell Shield type 8, and 1 Ceasefire. So Spell Shield, we usually use it against our own deck, so if we're going against another Goat Control, you want to sideboard it in, because then you can discard 1 spell card and negate the activation of a spell card. Ceasefires, if we're going against also flip effects, so they flip all up, they don't get their effects, but you inflict 500 for each. And Ring of Destruction is just in case you need to lay down more damage. So that's it for all of the Chaos Control deck. I hope you really like it. You can tinker with it however way you want. I personally like the way mine's built.